I'm saying you can do it better than me.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
What makes mine better than yours?
I don't know.
Different hands?
Bigger hands? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I got
right.
small hands maybe?
Yeah, come on. We're not going there.
Yeah.
This isn't happy hour yet.
This is a strictly professional podcast. Whiteboard sessions, that is.
Yeah. So this is like the 5th time that we've gathered here doing this deal.
Yep, 5th time.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been more, but it's also gone really quickly. Like
It
I feel,
has.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a very like comfortable thing. So I feel like
Absolutely.
I feel like we've done 1 million, but I'm like, only 5?
Only 5.
Oh well.
Well, at the end of this, it'll be 5.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Oh,
We
we've
gotta
only
get
done 4.
we got to survive this one.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm thinking that topic-wise,
Yeah.
I wonder if we should fill in some gaps for anybody that's,
I think
checking like, who the hell are these guys?
that's a great idea.
Why would I want to listen to them?
Yep. No, I think that's a
Do
great
they have
idea.
any credibility, or
Yeah.
is this just?
This is they shooting from the hip. Do they really know what they're talking about?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, because we first came into contact with each other late 2019.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Fall of 2019.
Yeah.
Early winter. Something
Yeah,
like
yeah, for sure.
that.
And
At a meeting, nonetheless.
right,
Even though you had been around before I'd seen you, we had never actually like had an introduction.
yeah, and thanks to the third party that connected us, I had no clue
Yeah. I don't
that
know.
you were even on board, that you existed,
I don't-
how gifted and talented, wise and wonderful you are.
So $20
Yeah.
again. No, yeah, right. I don't know what that says about me if my employer at the time was hiding me or I was fine. I don't know. Well, and we should explain. So you were in a consulting role.
yeah.
You have your own business, and
Yep.
that was
Started my
that was-
business in 99.
99.
Yeah, and had met that person right about that time, right around 2000, and had been a client, and then he was thinking about doing different things in life, and said, "Why don't you come run this business for a year?" And
That's when we met.
and I knew a lot of people in that business.
Yeah,
I mean
yeah,
a
'cause
lot
you-
of because I had been in and out of there for 20 years.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you had been there a long time, and somehow in my 10-year tenure, we had never connected.
So that's just hitting me right now.
Yeah, well,
That you
what I-
had been in that building for 10 years, and I had been in and out of there quite a bit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know what that says about me and my role. I was never talked about or present for that
Yeah.
stuff. I don't. Maybe I shouldn't be admitting this on
Yeah.
this podcast. I swear I'm credible. I swear
Yeah.
I know 1 or 2 things at least.
I just heard a noise.
Oh.
Something just clicked off or something.
Oh man, well, everything looks okay.
It does?
Yeah, I'll check it.
All right. Yeah. Did that make a noise?
That's good. This is live and uncut, guys. We're all good here. That's good.
Okay. All right.
Check this.
Oversensitive to.
Yep, all good there.
Wow. All right.
Everything's good. All right, back at episode 6. No. No. What, the cut?
Yeah. No. So we tell people that we're trying to make this as raw and real
Yeah.
and relevant as possible, and so literally that is just hitting me right this second. I've
Yeah.
never considered that in
Yeah.
the hundreds or thousands of conversations that we've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's never hit me that you were over there for 10 years.
Yeah, pretty close.
I never heard about you. I never saw you. We never.
Yeah, I had only
interacted.
seen you like once or twice, but I just thought you were like a buddy of, one of the people there and stopping by to say hi
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we met at this meeting and had no idea. Like I said, obviously I had no idea who you were. I thought you were just
Yeah.
listening and advisor, consultant, and had no idea otherwise.
Right. I don't know about you because we've never. Again, this is not scripted. I mean, you were immediately impressive to me. You came off as very experienced, very insightful, very prepared, and a true expert in.
And it was a meeting that was kind of a wrap up of the year for
Yes.
a department. So it's kind of like, unraveling a lot of these analytics or decisions or marketing avenues we chose or, whatever it may be. So it was a
Yeah.
very business oriented wrap up of the year, which
Yeah.
is a good one to have, a good one to meet you on, because I think you bring such a wealth of knowledge in that business world. And I was kind of just, all right, here's what our results were from a marketing and strategy standpoint from the year. And I actually remember one of the first conversations where you and I had a back and forth. We were talking, and I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking about the possibility of the following year selling this particular product / service, however you want to call it, to like, this sounds bad, but nursing homes, like a more of a gift type thing to nursing homes. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but that was like the first back and forth we had. And you made a suggestion, and I was like, I had to respectfully say, like, well, I just don't think that's going to work because of X, Y, and Z. And I was like, man, I hope I'm not just like, I don't know
idea
who
was
this
the
guy
nursing
is.
homes.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here now thinking that's a dumb idea.
No, yeah, because we were talking about different like partnerships, strategic partnerships, and different like, you know, if you sell a gift type product to realtors who give it to all their clients or something like financial advisors, accountants, things like that. And we talked about all these little like niche areas that have a client based business, you know?
Yeah.
And we must have been talking about something like that along that, or dentists or somewhere in the medical field. And that had came up, and there were good aspects to it. But I just remember being like, oh, I don't know who this guy is, but I got to tell him that it might not be the best idea for X, Y, and Z reasons. So I was like, okay, and that was like one of the first interactions we had.
Well, and I think that, and I don't want this to get too sappy or corny or make it seem like it's really trite and forced, but, you know, that's interesting that I don't remember that exchange, and sitting here and being very familiar, you know, it's the end of May of 2021 right now. And that was, December or?
Yeah, it must have been December.
Yeah, December of 19. And, you know, one of the things, and you know this, but they don't know that I really respect about you is that you stand your ground. You know, that if you don't go with stuff, along with stuff, if you disagree without stating, here's my thoughts and here's my rationale or my data as to why you know, I've got a concern about that. And that's part of the reason why, you know, we're doing this thing, I think, because of your integrity and I love that about you.
No, thank you. I think it's one of those things. It's just kind of a rule I live by, especially with business and working, you know, with clients and people who might be watching this. Is I just think in business, there's, you know, that like we always talk about, one of the biggest things that you talked about, and one of the first things I learned from you in a meeting was the trust and vulnerability in you know, relationships and communication in a business setting, let alone a personal setting. That just always kind of struck me, because I always try to operate in the sense of, okay, I'm going to be trusting and vulnerable that you're not going to take this the wrong way. But I think the quicker we get to the yes or the no for a particular decision, whether it's strategy or marketing or design or whatever it may be, the better off everyone is. There's no, if it's not going to work, let's figure that out sooner than later, you know, or if it is, let's figure that out sooner than later.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows that's watching this, this is something new for both of us. This is a continuation of a business that was establishing, but this combo platter is something new, and we've test run some of the previous podcasts before uploading. That'll get uploaded here soon. People will be looking back and hearing about that now. But, you know, some of the feedback we got from, you know, somebody in your world is, you know, who are you guys and why would people want to listen? And so what we hope to accomplish with this today is to help you understand, you know, as it relates to the men that we are and the people that we are, what's really most important to us a lot of times is who we are. Yeah. And so you've probably gotten a sense about that. You'll probably get a little bit more sense of the who we are today. But to the point of Buddy's feedback, why? Yeah. Why would people want to listen? What credibility do you have? What background? What expertise? And so as it relates to this creation story of this relationship, I think there are some very key pieces to why this thing is happening right now, why we picked each other to do this for our own reasons, and we intend to discuss that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but I think one of the biggest things is we're not just random celebrities. And I think there's a lot of people out there like business gurus or, you know, these type of people that are like, you know, marketing wonderkins or business, you know, entrepreneur, like, you know, just spectacular people, celebrities in their own right, and everybody wants to gravitate to them. Some of the stuff out there is great. Some of it isn't as based in reality, or it's not to the extent of how is it going to help and affect your business. Like one thing that Steve and I want to make sure, maybe I speak for myself, but one of the things that I think we really pride ourselves in is we're real people. Yep. We have years of experience in this kind of stuff. We've been through so many situations with so many businesses and so many industries that it's made us very well-rounded. And we mow our lawns on the weekend. I do mow my own lawn. I do my laundry. I take care of my dogs. Like we're just regular people, and we work with businesses like yours. And I think that's what, you know, just right off the bat, that's one thing that's definitely not jumping ahead. I think it's really important to say, in addition to that, we're still, you know, paying mortgages and putting food on the table and so on and so forth. And although the celebrity piece is not something who we are. We relate to, in many ways, the thinking of people that get paid to espouse theories and philosophies and just, and I say this with respect to all of them, just speak. We actually make our money, pay the bills by integrating, by operationalizing, by executing on many of the things that people hear. Because people hear this stuff, they think, oh, yeah, I feel just the way that Simon Sinek does, or Patrick Lencioni, or Jim Collins from Good. I think like that, but how do I get that into my team? How do I get that into my business? Or how do I get that into me?
Yeah.
That is our niche.
Exactly.
Is taking these big ideas that people like, or they like and relate to, and getting them to start generate some new results, and ideally some profitable and
exactly. I mean, those guys, results. Seth Godin, or even people just like CEOs, like we talk about Steve Jobs. We talk we talk about people like that. An idea is just that. It's just an idea. You could have the most spectacular idea, but if you don't know how to implement it, especially for your like niche business, then yeah, sure, you can relate and have all the feel goods and all that stuff about the idea, and we can all agree they're awesome ideas, but let's make it happen. Let's make it a reality, and that's what we like to do.
So when we met, there was a very strong personality that was kind of leading the charge in that business. And I think one of the things that right from the get-go, although we didn't say it, we say it now a lot to each other, is the ability to execute on ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be able to take ideas, because I think most people watching this would agree it's not a lack of ideas that most people suffer from. It's the ability to, I think, identify what the best ideas are, discern which ones are best, and then get them in play, so that you can see if they're going to work. And so I think that is that execution piece, that taking ideas and getting them into play, the best ideas put into play. What?
Getting them off the shelf.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, I've worked with businesses. I've been a part of businesses that will have, like you said, so many good ideas, and whether you're small or mid-level businesses, which we work with a good amount of, a lot of it just tends to go on the shelf when there's no reason it has to.
Exactly.
So, that's a fairly big problem.
Right.
Just stuff getting shelved.
Yes.
Stuff getting.
I think another thing related to what connected us from the beginning is, when you're innovating, when you're making process improvements, trying to improve systems or create new processes, systems, ideas, things like that. A lot of times people will try to establish their idea by stating their opinion, or they'll speak anecdotally. And I think another thing that connects us is using data, using evidence, putting metrics in so that we can generate real, legitimate feedback to assess how is this working. And it's not just somebody's feeling, or it's not just their opinion on how something's working. Right? We're brothers in those metrics and measuring.
Exactly. I for you guys to learn more about me, I'm a very kind of, I'd say it's a little more unique to be a right brain, left brain type of person. I'm type A too. And I think I might have told Steve that about 15 times when we first met. I'm very type A, Steve. I'm very type A, left brain, right brain. Yeah. So I always say, like if I was to describe myself, I'd say I'm creatively driven, but analytics oriented, because I think, again, you can have all the ideas or all this really creative, flashy looking stuff, but the numbers don't lie too. So to be able to do the market research, to have the analytics to back it, to see the results, tangible results, and then like how to pivot or adjust, or even just how to implement or bring to market.
Yes.
Those two have to go hand in hand. And that's what I love. I love talking about.
What two have to go hand in hand? Creative and analytics. So I think that's very meaningful to you. That's very meaningful to me. And I think that some people might look at that and say, that's an do they have to? Can't you just be, strong on one and survive? And I think the answer is probably, there's probably some evidence that you can be just creative, or you can just be analytical, you can just be right brain or whatever. But I do think that as it relates to the two individuals sitting here at the table, but then also the combination of these two people, is that is a very critical blend that both of us have. You're very wired creatively. I mean, from, interior design to the whole, your whole cinema and media background, all of that creative side of you, yet you're as hardcore driven on sales and business development and numbers and profit and all that stuff as any financial individual or sales executive that I've ever seen. My background comes from, it's psychology and some communication. And we've talked in previous conversations about those being soft skills, yet my brain functions like an engineer
Yeah.
in these systems, in this linear thinking when it comes to behaviors and communication, and the ability to take that. And this is a little bit challenging for me to say, because I'm not big on beating my own chest here, but to help people systematically see how to strengthen relationships, how to build new relationships, how to mend broken relationships. And the fuel for a lot of that stuff is another soft dynamic, which is communication. And so I think that uniqueness between right brain, left brain, the creative and the analytical, is another piece that, as it relates to our creation story, if you will, is again, I'm going to say this proudly but humbly, I think a very, very rare blend to have the strength of the two individuals on both those sides and then to come together.
Well, exactly. And arguably, when you talk about either creative or strategy or analytics, people will feel more comfortable, more trusting when they have those soft skills and they learn those things from you, to be able to feel like they are comfortable in an environment that will, what's the word I'm looking for? Like facilitate.
Yes.
More creative thoughts, more outside the box thinking, more drive to really dive into the analytics and find out what's exactly working or what's exactly the demographic or whatever the numbers you're looking at are.
Right.
So I think, sure, you could, again, we talked about this a minute ago, but you could have the most creative idea ever, but if you don't feel comfortable implementing it or bringing it forward, or you try to talk to your team about it and the communication is flat or weak, like it's just, it doesn't go as smooth or as good as it could, if at all. So I 100% agree that aside from us working so great together and being able to provide this, the complete like holistic package of the soft skills, the technical skills, the creative, the analytic, you know, you could sit here and, you know, point all these things out is like you said, is a rare blend, but something we really pride ourselves on.
Yep.
You know?
The other thing I'd say as it relates to this little part of this conversation, the creative, the right brain, left brain, is we are brothers, two peas in a pod when it comes to getting shit done.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if we say we're going to do something,
team get shit done.
Let's get it done.
Exactly.
Let's follow through on things. Let's not leave things hanging out there. And we say that from our own standpoint, that we want to be held accountable. We want other people to hold us accountable.
Absolutely.
And then as it relates to this previous working relationship, that was one of the things that I think I know that I enjoyed about working with you, but it was also, frankly, one of those things that frustrated us about the environment that we were in, is that so many times an idea would get put out there or somebody wasn't held accountable, and you could see that person skate over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's...
Or somebody dejected because they did bring up a good idea and it was either shelved or just kind of like scoffed at or not paid any attention to.
Right.
And I think, you're right. That's one of the most fun successes we had early on, at least from my perspective, was this initiative that we took when COVID first hit. One of the first things we worked on was this kind of giveaway.
Yes.
And it was like a spark of an idea by somebody else that we kind of said, oh my gosh, that's awesome. We take it. You and I had our first whiteboard session, just like this podcast is named after, because of that. And it was just like sparks. It was just electric. It was like idea after idea over implementation over, and pretty soon we had the whole thing flushed out.
Yeah.
And we got all these people on board and it was amazingly executed. It was like, to not dive too into this particular topic, but again, to provide some...
I think some details would help.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, building that rapport and building that credibility is, we had a certain number of products, whatever it was that we were giving away. I think it was like 1,500. I think it was almost 1,500. And we had cars at this location lined up down the block, blocking traffic on like a Tuesday morning or whatever it was, and it was gone in 20 minutes. We gave all of them away.
Right. And so I think the other thing, and we can edit this out if it's inappropriate to put it, but it was one of the major sports teams in town had placed this order.
Yeah.
The COVID shutdown was in place.
Yep.
It was clear that the season was not going to begin.
Yep.
We had all these very small infantile flowers.
Yeah. Yep.
And the conventional wisdom was at the time was to throw them on a table and let our regular customers just take them whenever they want to, and if we threw some out, whatever. But we created a social media blitz about it.
Yep.
We let it build up over, I think, a Thursday, Friday, and a weekend.
Yep.
And and I think I joked with you saying that we're going to have a lineup, and I remember getting a call from the owner of the business who was on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And
not even in the
heard
state.
that there were cars lined up already. We hadn't even started the event yet. And thousands of plants, hundreds of cars.
Yeah, it was over 500 cars in the first 20 minutes.
That went through all 4 television stations in town picked up this event. And that's part of our creation story, that chemistry, that symmetry, that synchronicity came into play for.
Yeah, that's kind of what set it off. I mean, really. And it was one of those things that, as a business, obviously everybody, including especially younger generations, want to feel fulfilled with something they do. And I think that was very fulfilling for us to knock that one out right away and have such a good rapport with each other and build that and crush that. And it felt good to do that too, because it was at the beginning of COVID. Nobody knew what was going on. To be able to help like the families with this little kind of fun little thing they can do with their family, it felt good.
Yeah, it was great.
That was fun.
Yeah, and I think that, you were managing and monitoring that whole media piece, but I think that story ran every day of the week through that Friday.
Right? That entire week. Yeah,
it was very, and that was just one example, and it was very rewarding, like you're saying, and it was good. I think the success of some other things that we did as it relates to technology, there was an online commerce piece that got set up early on that was never in place before.
And it was set up in 2 days, and we just ran with it. I mean, we built a e-commerce platform for a business that didn't have one, and when COVID hit, we knew we'd had to have one. Built it in 2 days, had, I don't even know what it was, like 60 products. And then within 2 weeks, we had over 100 products. And within 2 months, we had over 400 products. And it just, it was the turnaround. That was another thing that we just had to embark on. I mean, that was a year of a lot of unknowns, and we just.
And that, just for managers, leaders, owners out there, that online commerce, which was not part of the business at that time, started generating the same revenue that the brick and mortar business was generating. Days. And so just again, we're in no way trying to brag or beat our chest on this stuff. This is related to some feedback we got on some of those first videos that who the hell are you guys?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Why should I care about listening to this? There is some substantial expertise here and some results that have been generated, and we'd be delighted to help other people do that in the future. So, you got that giveaway, you got this e-commerce thing that got set up. There was a whole, construction division that we worked on together to look at, how labor was getting assigned, how things were getting priced, some other analytical, metric-driven, numbers-based things that, we looked at, and that business, that was it's a 45-year-old business, and the profit in that business by the end of that calendar year was 5 times what it had been in their best year ever before.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing to attach to that business, kind of a success is, and people that are watching, you've always gone through like an interview and people say like, what is your best success?
Right.
And we can probably think of a handful what that each of us would say, you watching, me, you, Steve. One of the things in that year with that business, well, not necessarily in that year, but with that business too, that you were consulting with, that you were eventually leading, that I was a part of, was strategic partnership initiatives with the business. They, we're very focused on selling to one group of people, and then you bring in a totally other way of doing it. And we saw that grow in the first year by, between that and the e-commerce part, I want to say the first year it was non-existent before, and then we brought in, it was a few $100,000. I think it was $300,000 or $400,000 the first year from just that one strategic sales path.
So we talk about some of these authors and people who speak and they've got incredibly good ideas, but how do you implement that in, I think this is the Blue Ocean Strategy book where they talk about Callaway and how Callaway, they were all, actually the pun is intended, Titleist and Callaway and Ping and everybody. I mean, they're literally beating the hell out of each other over these drivers, and the Big Bertha wasn't out yet. Well, the people at Callaway went one market over. So they went to the country clubs, but they didn't talk to the golfers. They talked to the tennis players. They said, why don't you play golf? And they said, well, what do you mean, why don't we play? Have you seen, they got those little drivers and those little, but we got a big fuzzy fluorescent ball. We got these big old rackets. And somebody at Callaway said, wait a minute, we can't mess with the size of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. We can't change the size of the golf ball, but the golf head, which gave birth to the big the Big Bertha, the great Big Bertha.
Yeah.
And so what you're talking about is how we implemented that concept from that book to our business.
Exactly.
And we went one market over or one market broader.
Yes.
And really made an appeal to a different customer base.
Exactly. No,
and we love it. You can tell by the smile. We love doing that stuff,
I
the
know,
thinking that it takes,
yep.
but knowing the business and understanding how to take ideas from a different marketplace and plug it into your marketplace, and how exciting and fun and profitable that can be for
exactly. And
our
kind of
clients.
to bring it back to your specialty, Steve, is if I hadn't felt in that time comfortable or taken the initiative to do it and just had it as an idea that got shelved, right? Like I felt comfortable with that. I felt driven to do that. And I, in my mind, I knew it was a good idea. And so I went for it, you know, and it ended up paying off. And I think that without those soft skills in your business, that could be some, you know, that could be a niche you're missing just from soft skills too.
So you're bringing up, and again, we can edit this stuff out if you want to, but I think that one of the things that I think we've joked about the 20-year age difference here. There are people that I think all of us meet along the way where, you know, to say a diamond in the rough is massively underestimating the talent that you already are. And so I think that the point that you just made is seeing what the capacity, the capability, the talent that's in somebody that is simply not being utilized.
Yeah.
And so one of the other things here is, you know, and I've never said this to you, you know, one-to-one, but to release the genius, you know, that is in people.
Yeah.
And so this is another way for,
Exactly.
you know, a guy like you to express who you are and those talents and those insights and the expertise that you have that up until this point, candidly, is massively underutilized.
Yeah, and there might be a lot of like leaders or CEOs or managers watching this that those people might exist at your business too. You know what I mean? And that's
right. And we can talk about that a little bit right now, but in another conversation where that can be very challenging to work with a couple of guys that, number one, have gigantic hearts. I think, you know, Adam's brain is bigger than my brain, but we also, you know, do know, you know, humbly what we're doing.
Yeah.
And to combine those two and to be able to help other people see the talent that they have existing that they're not using. It's like helping somebody find, you know, they got a high performance car and they're only using 40, 50, 60% of its capability.
Yeah, they won't take it out of first gear.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes there's a loss of power, control. It's out of their comfort zone to empower people or actually just to give authority to some people. And that's another you know, part of what we do. And I think it's something that we crave to do in this previous experience that we now get to scratch that itch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, I want to ask you just one question. So to give them another kind of example of all the, since 99 and you've been doing this.
Yeah.
What's one project that you remember that was not only successful, but that you really feel like you can hang your hat on for more than just like, okay, it had this like monetary success or this personnel gain or whatever it was. What's something that you like will never forget, a moment that you worked with a business and you just could not forget? Not to put you on the spot.
Right. Yeah, that's really putting me on the spot. I mean, there's
Well, that's the thing. How many businesses have you worked with? And
and see, that's the thing is because I don't know which filter,
Yeah.
you know, which lens to look through to say which, you know, there are individuals that have come out of their shell. There are leaders that became the leader that they always wanted to be. There were business. I mean, just one in particular, one of the biggest banking mergers in the state of North Dakota. I think at one point it was the biggest. You know, as part of that whole. That merger and doing the strategy on that, and that comes to mind. But there's been a lot of them. Product releases, helping people just to, you know, refine their brand in some cases.
What are some examples, some industries you've worked in over the years?
Well, see, and this sounds a little bit braggadocious too, but I'm trying to think. The ones that I haven't would be easier to. You know, most of them I have. I mean, from the pharmaceuticals, you know, working with, you know, physicians and specialists to help them. I was working with Pfizer at the time, believe it or not, when Viagra first came out, to help those urologists at that time, you know, actually market that drug, which turned out, you know, it's not that difficult to market. Come to find out. But, you know, working on
this podcast is mature rating only. Have to be 18 plus.
But manufacturing and finance and,
you know,
the services. So
it's
It's been a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
And he's only 2 years older than me. It's so
Yeah.
it's so weird.
times 10. Yeah. What about you? Are
Yeah,
same
you know,
question to you?
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, one of the things that I'll never forget is, so I used to work in film and television. I used to live in LA, and I worked on some Gordon Ramsay shows. And one of the, just like from a purely like, purely success standpoint of sheer numbers of like a lead gen approach would be when we were shooting Hell's Kitchen season 11 and 12, I think we put on more people pitched to Fox. We put more people on video all across the nation. So we'd go across the nation, interview people, put them on tape, and then we'd edit that. And that's what we'd pitch to Fox. And Fox would be like, yep, I want them, and them. I think we put more people on camera those years than any other season past. Now that was season 11 and 12. So the show had been around for a long time. And so that was really fun to be a part of, because we went to a ton of states. We put a ton of people on video. So it was just kind of a cool time, but that's film and television. I think from like
if I could just jump in, but I do think that that's another piece of this creation story you do know. It's not, I mean, that, people might say, oh, that's TV and that's Hollywood and so on. Mm-hmm. It is, but you do have a knack for knowing what customers want. Having seen you in this business and other businesses, I do think that is an absolute skill that you have. That's
I mean, one thing that we were talking about earlier on the phone was I just try to approach, not from a basic standpoint, but I always try to, like, a lot of people I think through marketing or certain strategies too in marketing, right? They try to think of it too like what's the next best thing, or unique approach, or different way to tweak and do this. And I just think to myself, okay, I'm a consumer on a daily basis as well. Like, I watch some TV, I buy some things off Amazon, I mow my own lawn. Like, what would I want? And I just kind of start from that basic singular consumer perspective. And that's kind of how I lead with my marketing and strategy. So yeah, I do like to think in terms of the customer. I think another like industry that I had fun in that I never thought I necessarily would was like the coffee industry. I consulted with a really local, well-known coffee chain for, I think it was 3 years, on their socials and marketing and strategy, and everything from, retail to like wholesale drop ship and direct ship and RTD and all that kind of stuff. So that was a very broad range one. Gosh, I mean, I've worked with realtors and financial advisors. I've worked in obviously film and television, service industries, commodity industries. Yeah, a lot of different kind of stuff. But like you said, it's kind of tough to pinpoint one, just because they're all so different, and the results or the reason you work with them is always going to be different, right? Everybody, we've talked about it before. Everybody's idea of success is different.
Well, and exactly, and I think that you just said a mouthful. Everybody's definition of success is different, and depending on what clients need, or customers need, or leaders need, or a department needs, or a division needs, it can be very different. And I think the ability to stay agile, and for me, probably the best indicator of success that I can offer anybody is talk to any client who's had me. There's not anybody that has said to me or anybody else, if they've been referred to, that there was a problem. The biggest, I think, indicator of a success is the fact that when I started the business in the late 90s, the last thing I wanted to be was seen as a consultant, one of these ongoing people that was just in a business. And I had my own little stuff going on in my head that those people, all they did is just try to renew a contract every year. Well, I've never had contracts.
Yes.
I don't have a contract. None of my clients have ever signed a contract. And I've had people retain me for 15 years.
Yes.
And they get an invoice and they pay it, and I keep working, and I send an invoice and they pay it, and I keep working, and it goes on for years and years and years. And the biggest challenge, the stuff that keeps me up at night, is staying relevant. How do you continue to stay relevant to businesses that are evolving, to people that have known you over the years? And so I think that it keeps me fresh. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me challenged, and it keeps me absolutely invigorated. And you're smiling because I know you relate.
Yeah, no, exactly. And even on the flip side of that, working with new businesses is really invigorating to me as well. You talk about working with these businesses for 15 plus years and how you stay relevant and evolve and pivot and all these great things. On the flip side too, I love coming into businesses and being like, I don't know much about this if I haven't worked in the business before or the industry. I'm like, That's awesome. I love diving in, seeing what I can do. Even if you come to me and you say, "Oh, I bought some, new Nike shoes." I'm like, "All right, cool. If I worked at Nike, what would be my strategy moving forward?" You know what I mean? Like I just like think like that. So it's fun for me to dive in and see like, okay, how can we really disrupt this industry? How can we like springboard what they're already doing to do something new or different, or maybe what they hadn't thought of, right? Widening that, basic you were talking about. That's fun to me too. So it's kind of it's funny to hear, because again, you've never said that to me, and some of that stuff I haven't known. And so I don't know, to me that's really cool. And that kind of, I wanted to keep going on the like the creation story, like we've been talking about. We go through, and we're at this business for about a year, and we've had these successes, come to that same meeting that we met each other at, essentially. And it's, again, more of the same stuff of these great ideas, or here's the successes and the analytics of it. And then after that, we still were just like, man, there's so much more we could do. Right. So much more strategy, so much more growth to happen.
Right. So I think that's bringing up another piece, that as far as how we got started, what keeps us connected here.
Yes.
And I think the awesome motivation that we have for the future is that concept of perpetual growth, of constantly challenging ourselves, because I say this to the kids sometimes, don't work hard to get an A. The hard work itself is exactly. That's the payoff, is the hard work to work hard. Let's go negative for a second. For some reason, I just thought of Jerry Springer. I don't know if you ever saw the Jerry Springer show, where bring on these massively dysfunctional people and they end up throwing chairs at each other. There are some, sometimes they say in life, that you don't want everybody to like you. It's about having the right people not like you or disapprove or disrespect you, that kind of keeps you. There are some common things with us that really we have no tolerance in dealing with. So let's talk, about a few of those things that we have zero tolerance for.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first one we talked a little bit about, but I have zero tolerance for things getting shelved, and I also have zero tolerance for certain ways of leading too, like the authoritative, toxic kind of, this is how you're doing, and
fear and intimidation.
You just have to regurgitate what I want. It's like, I have zero tolerance for that. And which brings up to kind of a more broader point of like, I have zero tolerance for treating people negatively. Especially in that business setting. Like, you're all there for a certain reason. You know what I mean? You're all there probably for one main goal, right? If everyone's on the same team, and it's like, you're all part of a team. Don't talk to people like that. Don't, that I have zero tolerance for that. Zero tolerance.
That's not to say we're not going to have conflict.
Oh no, yeah,
because we will. But
there is healthy conflict.
You bet.
Healthy conflict. Oftentimes, healthy conflict leads to really good stuff too.
Well, and I love to say to people, relationships don't get stronger in the good times as much as they get stronger in the tough times.
Exactly.
That's when we're really growing, bonding. We're putting ourselves out there, and so I think that's absolutely one of the things we have zero tolerance for is disrespect.
Yes, exactly. What about you? What are some big?
Well, it's going to come no surprise to anybody watching this who knows me, and that's truth and honesty. Integrity is being completely transparent with people. I mean, if I'm frustrated and upset about something, it's not like I want to be known as wearing it on my sleeve. But at the same time, if we have a clear set of expectations how we're going to talk to each other, how we're going to treat each other, the quality of work we're going to do, the amount of work that we're going to do, some of those expectations, and if we're not hitting that, there might be some good reasons for it, which I can respect. But at the same time, that standard of excellence, we are, our actions basically. And
I think at the same time, we want the best out of each other too. You know what I mean? Like, and the people we work with, we want to pull out the best in them. And sometimes healthy conflict has to happen.
Related to that truth, honesty, and integrity thing, I think another thing that you and I have in common that we have zero tolerance for is this lack of transparency, where people are, a leader, shows up at work and they put on their, well, I got my boss coat on, or I got my manager coat on, and I got to be somebody different and act different, and I'm going to talk to you this way, when I'm on the job or when I'm with this group of people, I'm going to talk to, differently. I'm going to share information with you under some, so that, I think that consistency is very important in all aspects. You agree with that?
Yes, 100%. I mean, yeah, you brought up a great point. I think when you're telling one person one thing, the other person the other thing, or you say one thing and then behind the back you say something different, or you say you're going to do one thing and you don't do it, like those are all major problems. Like
Right.
those are not healthy for a culture.
Yep. I think another thing that you and I probably have, not probably, that we don't have a lot of tolerance for is excuses and blaming and deflecting
Yep.
and dismissing. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what? If you blew it. You know,
Yeah.
if I blew it, I blew it. And
Extreme
I'm not going to try to
ownership.
say, well,
Yeah.
you know, my blood sugar was bad that
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
or, you know, Ellen forgot her homework. It's
Yeah.
you know, no.
My dogs ate my homework, which
yeah.
might not.
Yeah, exactly. Riot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, that's another great point, because I am a very big believer in extreme ownership too. If you have a team and you're the leader of that team, it kind of comes down to you, right? You're making the decisions. You're empowering your team to do stuff. But if
Yes.
something happens, you know, that's not saying that, you know, like, because if you like lead the right team, maybe that the person who maybe did the misstep is going to take extreme ownership of it too.
Right. So I want to go a little bit provocative here.
Yeah.
So there are leaders
Mm-hmm.
that make excuses
Yeah.
for their favorites.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yep,
about here?
yep.
That sometimes it's, you know, when somebody doesn't perform the way that they're supposed to, and if it's, you know, my golden child or my prized, you know, pupil or whatever it is, I might be the one making excuses for why they're underperforming.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just the individual that deflects, dismisses, and denies. Sometimes it's, you know, leaders do that, or they allow that, or they actually engage in some of that stuff. And so, you know, when we're working with people, there are times where we have to, I think, firmly but respectfully call some of that stuff out. So
Yeah. Yep.
that's another piece of zero tolerance for us.
Yeah. Yep. No, those are great points. Those are all great points. And I don't think any of that's like provocative or really negative at all. I mean, those are very valid, legitimate things to talk about and learn of us.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think the last thing for me that comes to mind that we have zero is if you're not having fun,
yeah.
if we're not enjoying the process, right? The ups, the downs, the goods and bads, the struggles, the in the zone days, whatever, you know, we got to enjoy what we're doing. We have to enjoy each other.
And that just brought up another point to me too. I don't know if this is something I like necessarily have zero tolerance for, but more something maybe I just believe in from like a leadership standpoint, or something that should happen more in business is you have employees that are hired for a certain role, right? Maybe that's not how they want their career to evolve, or maybe they have interests in other things at that business. Instead of forcing them into one thing, or maybe what you think you need them for, utilize them for what they're good at. And they're going to be so much more happy and content and fulfilled, and contribute more and all those things like that. So being able to have that, again, open, honest, trustworthy, vulnerable communication in a company, you're going to uncover those things. Maybe that person in accounting really loves like this aspect of production or customer service or whatever, or this customer service actually has this huge technical background in this that they could help out in. If you don't facilitate that culture of, feeling like they're included, it's
Tom Kelly, the old manager of the Minnesota,
Twins.
the World,
Yeah.
the World Series Twins, when asked, geez, Tom, how'd you do it? He's like, it was those guys. And they're like, no, you're the manager. He said, look, as the manager, all I did is I found out where these guys, were good at playing, where they loved to play. And I played them in the position they were best cut off and had the most passion for. And there's a lot of wisdom in that.
I love in business being able to relate or operate like another business. This might be a little off topic, but right, like he just talked about that. And another thing, I worked with a business that was like a green industry business, and I wanted to model it almost off of like a grocery / food type business, just from like interior retail brick and mortar design to signage and things like that. I love being able to compare and making, because that may be that slight disruption or that slight pivot that you need. So I kind of like that. It's totally an aside, but I like when people are able to make those kind of parallels.
As a child of a lot of the business books of the, the 80s and the 90s, that cross, going from one market, of taking a great idea from one market, applying to another is very common. So that's not off topic.
I've been a part of a business. I'm sure you have. I'm sure maybe you watching too, as an employee or as, mid-level management or even as a leader, you've probably been a part of a really terrible work culture, and you've probably found yourself like I know I have, thinking about it far too much outside of those working hours, and that affects your mental health. You might not think like at that time, like, okay, I have a mental health issue right now, or I'm not doing so hot, or I'm, again, something like, I've been kind of depressed lately or whatever it is. And I don't say those things lightly. You have a psychology background. My wife is a psychiatric nurse practitioner, mental health nurse practitioner. So not only do we have a little bit of background in that, but I think more people have probably experienced mental health issues in the workplace that talk about it. It's just not, there's like this stigma around it still that exists that, oh, we're not going to talk about that in the workplace, or you seem weak or something if you suffer from that. I was an employee of a company where the culture was so toxic, and I thought about it morning, night, couldn't sleep some nights. It just really bothered me, partly because I care about the jobs I do and the things I work with. So that's one thing that I really try to bring to the plate, just like you, is that's an important aspect to do with businesses. So
that's right. And some of those mental health symptoms are, in a workplace considered out of bounds.
Yeah.
In organizational development, there's a term used as deviance. And so while it needs to be handled compassionately and right to the point, it also does need to be addressed, whether it's the leader themselves, whether it's a key person on that team. And so I think that's another thing that when it comes to, who we are and what we're all about, how we got here together. And most importantly, I think for people listening to this, how we can help if those issues are going on in your business, how to handle that in a very professional, matter of fact, and productive.
Yeah. And think of it this way, like if you were to think to yourself right now, okay, that was just a side one. Okay. It is what it is. If you think to yourself right now, I'm going to email my boss and say, you know what, I just been struggling this week. I need a mental health day today. I just can't come in. It's, maybe you don't have any sick days. Maybe your sick days and PTO aren't broken out like that. Maybe you don't even have PTO.
Yeah.
You just need a mental health day. And you think, man, I don't know how my boss would react to that.
Yeah.
That's a very important question to ask of yourself, your boss, your culture, all that kind of stuff. Because a good culture, and I think something you talk about a lot with that trust and vulnerability, is like you want to feel comfortable being able to not only ask that question, but know what the response is going to be, because that answer better be absolutely.
You bet. We need to hit that on a podcast, because there's a piece that I'd like to get out there about evaluating people. The two pieces, keeping it simple, the two pieces just being character and competence. And I just know, I could just hear the collective rolling of eyes of people that have subordinates, right? And the scenario you just created where somebody says, I need a mental health day. Yeah. There are a lot of, and I don't know whether it's 50% of the people listening to this, or 75% or 90% that are going to be like, oh my God, give me right?
Yeah.
Like, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. You got this big thing coming up. What do you mean mental health day? Your mental health is you're stressed out because you're procrastinating, right? So those are the biases that are out there. There are some things when we work with people to ask some very specific questions. Is that your opinion that they're procrastinating? Yeah. Or is there a capacity issue that they're flat out overloaded? Yeah. And not only do they need a mental health day, but we need to spread out some of their work so that by the time they do come back after their mental health day, if that's determined that that's what they need, that they're not immediately overwhelmed.
Exactly.
That their head and their heart is in the game. Their quality is going to be there. Their enthusiasm is going to be there, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, some of those same questions can determine, well, if that's the fifth time this quarter that they've asked for a mental health day,
there's probably something else going on that, for better or for worse, needs to be addressed anyways.
Exactly. And at that point, does it become a disciplinary issue?
Exactly. And this is, as you guys learn to know us more, this is like we could just keep going on this single topic anyway. So that's why it's like, okay, mental note, grab the phone. Okay. Next podcast,
for sure.
We just do that. And that's, that honestly, and to kind of bring it full circle, Whiteboard Sessions as a podcast was born off of the kind of idea or theme or whatever you want to call it, the label we gave to our brainstorm sessions that we had. And we just happened to have a massive whiteboard, and we always, leaned on that when we were thinking of ideas or strategy processes, people, whatever it may be. And so we always had these really good brainstorming sessions that we just called whiteboard sessions, because we always ended up at the whiteboard, and I'm pointing to a whiteboard in front of us now. And so that's what made this Whiteboard Sessions podcast a thing. And that's, again, part of the creation story is I think it's very easy for you and I, because we work so well together, we click so well together, and our backgrounds are different but very similar. We have same ideologies and morals and things like that, that once we get going on a topic, whether it be personal or business or whatever, we just we could keep going on a certain thing.
Well, and I think you're making a point that the word in my head is engagement. I think those whiteboard sessions were one, at least for me, Adam. I love to engage you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inspiring to engage people that are passionate, that are smart, that are creative, that are committed to quality. And I think that is, again, humbly, we offer that same opportunity to engage you, to engage your people, to engage your business, to engage your customers, partners, vendors, whatever, to engage people in a conversation about moving forward, if that's the goal, about solving problems, about being more efficient or effective, more profitable, more innovative, whatever the issue is.
They were super fulfilling on my end. Absolutely. And again, to kind of talk about a little bit of background, those almost sparked from a process I had when I worked for Disney. Was we would have these unique brainstorming sessions that were really fulfilling, and I had never gotten it anywhere else. And then all of a sudden we met and we had these really like electric brainstorming sessions and these whiteboard sessions. And I think that's one thing that when you bring those into a business itself, even if it's a non-sexy business, we'll bring up our old friend, the accounting firm, you can have electric, fulfilling, engaging brainstorming sessions. It doesn't have to be a creative thing. Right. It doesn't have to be something like that.
So what you're saying is I remind you of Goofy.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, maybe a little. I guess I could have said like grumpy or sleepy or happy or dopey or no. So it was really cool, and that's something I really like. So that's why I like doing these as well.
Yeah. Maybe the last point we can make on this creation story is that 2019 isn't that long ago. Yeah. And I think another thing I know that when things click and they're right, things can happen pretty quickly. Yeah, for sure. And so it hasn't even been 24 months, and that same thing can happen for many people if they have an idea, if they've got some passion around it. If you have the right people, things can happen quickly. And so probably throw that out as a blatant call to action. Yeah. Everybody listening, absolutely. If you're plugged in, if you're tuned in, and some of this stuff. Love to catch up with you about that and learn more about you.
And if there's other topics you guys want us to cover, absolutely let us know in the comments below. And I mean, we're going to be doing these a lot, so there's going to be a lot of topics covered. And we really hope you guys get a little something out of these, and
a lot of something out of these. Yeah,
that's what my goal is.
So in closing, your final thoughts?
Yeah. There's a lot of final thoughts. No, I mean, really, I hope you guys know a little bit more about us watching this, or our backgrounds, how we operate. I mean, that's kind of the goal of this and this creation story, and know that we're just real people and we love what we do, and that's what it's all about.
My final thought would be serendipity, and that life's going to throw curveballs, business, personal, health, wealth, whatever. Yeah. And it was very serendipitous to show up for that meeting that day. Yeah. And there you sit, and visually, this guy looks sharp, and first couple things out of your mouth sounds sharp, and here we are, not even 2 years later, and what a wonderful, beautiful, and productive thing that serendipitous connection has had. And so I think to take advantage of those opportunities when they present itself, still feel really excited and lucky to have the opportunity to do this and to put this out there. So
and to hopefully work with some of you. And I feel the same way. I'm a big believer in the universe and the law of attraction and karma, and what you put out you get back, and things happen for a reason, and it was meant to be. So
so for whatever reason you're watching today, or listening, thanks for that, and here's hoping that it goes to a more productive by your definition.
So. Your closing was way better than mine, so we're gonna leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you guys, and we'll see you for the next one.
I'll see you next time.